What's up, and welcome to the episode of GizmoSlip. Today we're going to go over the iPhones. The Apple event just wrapped up. I did a live stream with it, so if you missed it, you can check out the full live stream. I'll have a link to the live stream in the video description down below. That said, let's hop into the tech specs. We've got 3 new iPhones. We have the XS, or XS, depending on how you want to say it. Then we have the XS Max, and we have the XR. These are the 3 new iPhones from Apple. Got the new Apple Watch 4 from Apple as well. Most of the leaks turned out to be pretty valid. There's definitely some surprises in there. We'll go over those as well. Here we go. Let's hop right into it. All right, we're going to start off by talking about the new Apple Watch Series 4. This features a much more immersive, larger display. The larger display makes for better watch faces. I mean, just look at this display. Like, it looks really cool the way the fire extends almost all the way to the edge. We also have this new Taptic button that allows you to move through menus much more quickly and easier. And of course, we have a 2 times faster processor that should improve the functionality and smoothness of the Apple Watch. This is going to be really, really cool. I'm not going to lie, I'm probably going to get one to match my new iPhone XS Max that I'm getting, or XS Max. Some other things that are really cool about it, it's going to have fall detection, so if you fall and get knocked out, you're not moving, it'll call 911 automatically. Some issues there may be that you might accidentally be calling 911 when you don't intend to be. Like, for example, you throw the watch on the bed. Is it going to accidentally detect a fall there and call 911 because it's just sitting there on the bed with no motion? We'll have to see. We'll have to do some tests on that. Then there's also this ECG monitor where it can actually detect your heartbeat and heart rate, and you can report in to your doctor through this. So if you have an abnormal heart rate, it can detect that. If you maybe you don't even know that you have an AFib heart, it can detect that and let you know. And it can also report in to your doctor through this app. Basically, it's really cool overall idea, and I could see especially people who have heart issues being like, this is a must-have purchase for them if they have the money. Now, there's obviously going to be cheaper options out there if you're interested in an ECG monitor. The Watch Series 4 starts at $400. If you want the cellular version, it costs $500 as a base price. And of course, if you want the stainless steel version, it's $700 to $800. Super expensive devices, which I guess you'd expect from an Apple Watch. I mean, but it's really cool, but they're also very breakable, so get Apple Care if you get one of these, because I've owned 2 of them and they've both shattered on me with very minor drops. Let's go ahead and take a look at the iPhone now. So we're looking at the XS first, and then we'll look at the XS Max. These are going to be available for pre-order on 9/14 and available in stores and shipping 9/21. So that is about a little over a week, like 9 days away. That's fantastic. I love the fact that it's coming out so quick. All right, so let's take a look at the breakdown of the technical specs between the iPhone XS and the XS Max. First of all, we have 3 colors. We have gold, space gray, and silver. I will probably either get the silver or space gray versions. I wish Apple offered all the colors for all the different models, but they don't. So that means if you want a colorful color, you're going to have to go with the XR. They're going to come with 3 different sizes, 64, 256, and 512 gig. Of course, there's no micro SD card slot, so this is all you get. If you're going to record a lot of videos, you're probably want to get the most expensive version, which is me. Unfortunately, that means it's going to be very, very pricey. So 6.24 ounces versus 7.3 ounces, so just a little bit heavier for the XS Max. Of course, we have a 5.8-inch display versus a 6.5-inch display. They're calling a Super Retina HD display. They are very high resolution at 2436 by 1125. We're looking at 458 ppi for the XS, and we've got an even higher resolution for the XS Max. That's 2688 by 1242. They both have 458 ppi, which is plenty of pixels per inch. Of course, there are some Android phones that have higher levels of pixel density, but beyond about 300, it's really hard to tell a difference. But at usable phone range, anything over 300 is really good. Now, these are going to be HDR displays. They're not 120 hertz refresh rate as far as I can tell. They claim 625 nits brightness. We'll have to see if that's peak brightness or consistent brightness, because the previous iPhone X could do over 900 in peak brightness. We'll have to see how they all measure out, but this should be a very bright display. They are keeping 3D Touch. Thankfully, there's some rumors saying that 3D Touch was going to be gone. 3D Touch is still here. It's going to be IP68 water and dust resistance rated. That means that it can be up to 2 meters deep for up to 30 minutes consistently constantly. I mean, honestly, I would try to keep your phone out of water as much as possible, but taking it into the shower is probably just fine. You're going to be pretty safe there unless you've dropped and cracked the screen. You just want to keep it completely away from water. So last year's iPhone 10s were IP67 rated, so this is just a tiny step above last year's phones. Face ID has some improvements. This is mainly from the new A12 Bionic chip. Is able to process things a little bit faster. The Face ID should be just a tiny bit faster at recognizing your face and opening the phone and unlocking it. Let's talk for a moment about the A12 Bionic chip. They're claiming it's the smartest, most powerful chip in a smartphone to date, and it is. It is going to be the fastest, most powerful. It's a lot faster than the Snapdragon 845. This new neural engine can be used to enhance lighting in games, which is really cool. They showed the new Elder Scrolls Blades game, which had some pretty cool lighting effects using the neural engine. I don't know if it's going to really make that big of a difference, but the fact that you're playing a phone game with that level of graphics is really, really cool. The new A12 Bionic, of course, is a 6-core processor with 2 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. The 4 efficiency cores take less power when you're just doing light things like browsing Facebook or Instagram, and the performance cores are up to 15% faster, which should help open apps quicker and enhance 3D gaming. Now, the Apple-designed GPU should be 50% faster than the A11 Bionic, which is just an insane power jump. The iPhone was already the best platform for playing mobile games on, and it's just going to get better with a bigger screen, better GPU, and I don't think this is marketing hype. I think this is real-world performance improvement, which is just fantastic. The new Apple designed neural engine goes from a 2-core system to an 8-core system, which should be a big improvement. Again, this is just like minor things. It's going to be hard to necessarily see that improvement because it's more the behind the scenes improvement with the neural network. In the Apple event, they also claimed a 30% performance improvement for opening apps quicker because of the neural network and the new improved A12 Bionic chip. That could translate to real world improved performance for app opening speed test videos that you see all over the internet. So the iPhone XS could be the new champ there. We'll have to see. Of course, this neural network is used in the AR enhancements here, so like mapping the emojis, face mapping the various things on your face from Snapchat. And then, of course, you have augmented reality gaming where the neural network helps translate the real-world environment into the gaming environment. Another thing they showed off was the new augmented reality Galaga multiplayer game, so you can have multiple people playing the same game, like pointing at a table. That is just really cool. I know that the iPhone X had that. I didn't really get to play around with it very much, but I think that could be a new feature. I think it's a new thing that will be big when it catches on more, but a lot of people don't realize that it's even a thing. I think it has lots of potential. Now, as far as the new cameras go, I think there was a lot of marketing BS in the Apple event. They're talking about how we're not losing detail in the shadows anymore. We're getting all this stuff. But I mean, look at this photo right here. We definitely have lost a lot of detail in the shadows here, both in the trees and in the shadow of this person. I mean, it's definitely a really cool photo. It's a good photo, but we're still losing a lot of detail, and a professional camera probably would have captured the detail on him and over here a lot better than the iPhone did. So that's just an example, of marketing BS in the Apple event. But overall, the cameras are really impressive. I think they're going to be a step up from the iPhone X. It's not going to be a massive difference, but it should be a notable improvement. Now, they are adding depth control after the fact, much like the Note 9 or Note 8 from last year. You could adjust the depth of the portrait mode photo after the fact. They're calling it aperture adjustment, but this is just, again, marketing BS. They said no one's ever done this before. No, Samsung did this last year, so this is definitely not new. I'm glad they're adding this feature. It's cool being able to adjust this after the fact, but it's definitely not anything new. Now, for the back cameras, we're looking at a dual 12 megapixel setup. We've got an f1.8 on the wide angle and an f2.4 on the telephoto. We also have dual optical image stabilization. For video recording, we have 4K 60 frames per second still, 1080p HD, extended dynamic range for videos up to 30 FPS. Not sure what that's going to look like. Well, I'm actually really curious about how that's going to work. Maybe that's like an HDR mode for video recording to where you can see better detail in the highlights and shadows. That could actually be really huge for people looking to make more cinematic style videos with better dynamic range. We have slow motion video support at 1080p 240 frames per second, so we're not getting any kind of burst slow motion mode. This matches the specs from last year's iPhone X for slow motion. That's kind of a bummer. Now, it says we have a cinematic video stabilization at 1080p. I don't know if that's going to make much of a difference. Maybe that's just like super cropped in digital stabilization. We'll have to see how that actually looks when we actually do the camera test. You can actually take 8 megapixel still photos while recording in 4K video. That's pretty cool. Now for the iPhone 10, the front camera has new video stabilization, which should make the video look better when you're doing front-facing video camera. I just wish that they did higher resolution. Only being able to do 1080p is a little bit disappointing. I wish you could do 1440p front-facing video. Portrait lighting effects, which are pretty cool. I'm not sure how many people actually use them, but they're cool. You know, they're definitely good. Now we have fantastic cell phone band support here, which basically covers all the potential bands around the world. So if you're going to travel with a phone, the iPhone XS is going to be fantastic. We also have dual SIM support now, which means that you can have a work SIM and a personal SIM, which means that you can take calls and text messages from either SIM on the fly. That way you don't have to carry two phones if you have two cell phone plans. Of course, this is nothing new. Lots of Android phones have had dual SIM support, but this is new for the iPhone. First time ever supporting that. I personally would have rather had them put a micro SD card slot plus a single SIM, but that's just me. As far as battery life, it says it lasts up to 1.5 hours longer than the iPhone 10 from last year. The iPhone 10 from last year had pretty good battery life. We'll have to see if the new iPhone XS Max can compete with the likes of the Note 9, the OnePlus 6. All of those have really good battery life. We'll have to see if the XS can compete with those. Of course, we have wireless charging still. We have fast charging. You can get up to 50% of your phone's charge in 30 minutes, up to 25 hours of talk time, up to 13 hours of internet use. That seems a bit excessive. I bet you screen on time will not be 13 hours. There's no way. So I don't know how they're estimating this. Maybe they're just saying like background internet use mixed with real life use. Like, for example, your email being updated when the phone's, in your pocket or something. All right, so that's the XS and XS Max. Let's talk about the XR. This is the 6.1-inch display. Let's just break down the technical specs. It comes in multitude of colors. You have the Project Red, yellow, white, coral, black, and blue. The blue looks really good, at least in the photos. I think the blue and the red looks really, really good. Now, Apple's doing an interesting budget play. The budget model is actually not the smallest model. It's a middle ground size with middle level specs. You've got a 64 gig, 128 gig, and 256 gig options on this model. So if you want a 512 gig size storage, you're going to have to jump over to the XS or XS Max. Now you have 326 pixels per inch, which I think is plenty. Anything over 300, it's hard to notice the difference. Of course, if you get close to the display, the XS and XS Max will be very noticeable as an improved pixel resolution. Now this is a 6.1-inch LCD. The XS and XS Max comes with OLED displays. This LCD display is not going to feature as deep a contrast ratio, and it's going to not quite be as bright of a display, but it will be really good. Apple has had fantastic LCDs in their phones before. This will be a great overall display. Going to be pretty competitive with the OLED displays. Again, with the black and contrast ratio being a little bit less, and maybe with the nits brightness being just a tiny bit less as well. Some people are going to say this is a big negative for the 6.1-inch display, but I'm going to say this is not going to be that big of a difference. Over 300 pixels per inch is going to still be really good, and the LCD is still going to be a very high quality IPS display. Now this is going to be IP67 rated. We've got a maximum depth of 1 meter for IP67 for 30 minutes, where the IP68 is a depth of 2 meters for up to 30 minutes. The iPhone XR is going to be slightly less water resistant. Most of the rumors said that we're going to get the A11 Bionic chip with the XR, but no, we're actually getting the A12 Bionic chip with the XR. That is fantastic. That means we're going to get the same high-level performance as the XS Max and XS. So, I mean, you're really not sacrificing much getting this phone. In my mind, if I had to choose between the XR and the iPhone XS, the XR is just, to me, a hands-down automatic choice. It's got a bigger display, it's cheaper, it's got the same powerful internals. The back camera, yeah, it doesn't have a telephoto, but it's got the same wide-angle camera. The XR is just, I think, where it's at. I mean, if you're looking for the best bang for the buck, the XR is definitely the best overall choice for price to performance and price to value ratios. With the camera, you're getting the 4K 60 frames per second. You're getting the video stabilization, optical stabilization for videos and photos. With Face ID, you're getting the exact same Face ID as on the XS and XS Max. As far as we can tell, it has the same cameras. It has the same A12 Bionic chips, means that we're getting the same speed for unlocking your phone. With the camera, we're looking at a single rear 12 megapixel camera and a 7 megapixel front-facing camera. I think the only thing here that's really different about the camera on the XR is that the bokeh and depth sensing isn't there with the dual camera, so it's all going to be based on machine learning, which means sometimes you're going to get some fringing. Like, look at this right here. We're getting fringes on this photo right here, which is really not ideal. I would argue that the 10S and 10S Max are going to have slightly better portrait modes because of that dual camera system, but this doesn't look terrible. This would look really good on Instagram, so I mean, it's not like it's a terrible photo for taking portrait photos. I mean, look at the Google Pixel 2 XL. It had a fantastic single rear camera portrait mode, arguably one of the best, so it's definitely possible to have good portrait photos with a single rear camera. Between these three phones, which one would I pick? Well, you've got the 10S and the 10S Max coming in at $1,000 and $1,100. And then you've got the 10R coming in at $750. These are all the base prices. If you get larger sizes, the price is going to go up dramatically. What it comes down to is, what's your budget? If you've got a medium to small budget, get the 10R. It's a better value, better bang for the buck, I think, than the 10S, hands down. But if you want the very, very best, get the 10S Max. I think it's going to have the best overall display. It's going to have a higher resolution display. It's got the telephoto zoom lens. We don't know how big the batteries will be between these three devices, but I would think the 10S Max will probably just be a little bit larger with that bigger display. They might be able to fit a bigger battery in there, but we don't know. Maybe the 10R will surprise us with even better battery life than the 10S Max. We don't know until the battery tests happen. Overall, I will definitely be getting the 10S Max, but if I was on any kind of a budget, I would say get the 10R. It's going to be the best overall bang for the buck, hands down. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I'll have a poll in the top right. Which of these three phones would you pick up? I'm really curious what you guys think. That's it for this episode of GizmoSlip. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be featuring more tech videos. I'll be doing some comparisons between the iPhone XS and some Android phones. And of course, I'll be doing some regular durability tests as well as some wacky tests in the future. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, tap the notification bell. We'll see you guys in the next one. Brandon, out.